Hi, everybody. It's like wave.
All right.
Welcome to the February 26th Evanston Township High School Board of Education meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Tom.
Here.
Laude.
Here.
Monzel.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Carson.
Here.
Savage Williams.
Here. Thank you. So before we start, I'd like to read a statement on behalf of the Board of Education. The Board of Education expresses our deepest sympathy to the families and community in Parkland, Florida, where 17 innocent lives were tragically lost on Valentine's Day due to the senseless and cruel actions of a gunman at Marjorie Joy Stoneman Douglas High School. We support the right for students who survived at the school to speak up as citizens in this nation, and we embrace their call for never again. We also support the rights of free expression by students across this nation who want to grow up and live in a nation where gun violence is never normalized, where gun violence is abhorrent, where our nation's children can be safe in their own schools and their own neighborhoods. Students' voices must be heard. Would you please join me in a moment of silence to remember the victims of this horrific school massacre and honor the students, please, for never again. Thank you. Okay, our first item on the agenda is written communication. Dr. Davis, do we have any written communication?
We have no written communication.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is recognition of the ETHS Swim and Dive Team State Champions.
Did I hear you say state champions? All I can say is it's a great day to be a Wildcat. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Coach Auger, who's going to come up and speak to what this accomplishment is all about, and we're going to have a chance to meet and shake hands with the team. So, Coach.
Is definitely one of the best teams that we've had here, not just because of the performances of these gentlemen, but because they came together as a group and were able to exceed expectation. We actually started about 6 years ago along this path when a gentleman named Aaron Holtzmuller showed up at the Wildcat Swimming Organization to take swimming lessons and to learn how to swim better. And on the very first day, Aaron had an epileptic attack and almost drowned in the water. One of our coaches was able to save Aaron, and he was rushed to the hospital. This didn't stop Aaron from wanting to swim. In fact, our coach called his mom and said, "We hope that he will be back in the water when he's able to." And Aaron overcame this issue and was able to become a vital part of our team. Aaron competes in the Athletes with Disability section of the meet, which allows us to also compete in the combined championship. And this truly was a combined state championship, as Aaron scored points for us in the Athletes with Disability region. Our divers scored points for us by getting second and fourth at the state meet. We had a relay at the state meet. We had 50 freestyler at the state meet. So we had sprinters, and we had a distance swimmer who placed 8th at the state meet, Aiden Dillon. We had an overall performance at that state meet that was indicative of the effort that these guys have put in over the years and the camaraderie that they have had with each other, divers, swimmers, and athletes with disability. I really appreciate being given this opportunity to come forth to the school board and recognize these guys, because they certainly deserve it. And as coaches, we were really happy to be able to have them on our team. It's been a wonderful 4 years for some, 3 years for others, and only 1 year for one of our freshmen who's actually plans on more and better things. So thank you very much, and our team.
Okay, guys, now there's more to this yet. You're not done yet. So listen carefully, and we'll see if we can get the routine started. We're going to ask you to each, coaches as well, walk around the inside of the horseshoe. Everybody here, or the entire school board, wants to shake your hands, and then our board president, Ms. Savage Williams, has a pin for you commemorating Evanston Township High School that you were at the meeting. Now, I don't think it compares to those medals around your necks, but we hope that you'll still have this and wear it with pride as well. We are so proud of you.
Absolutely.
This
Yes.
is terrific.
Wonderful.
Congratulations. Go Kits. What an accomplishment. And you did it. Oh, you're very welcome. Wow. Just terrific.
All right, a lot to
And
hear.
bring up the rear. Oh, I know. Oh, my gosh.
He would have loved it so
Wouldn't he have,
much.
though?
But he enjoyed doing it there. He enjoyed it there. Coach, well done.
Phew, I had just enough.
You had enough?
Yeah, just enough.
Just enough.
Oh,
I
wow.
was counting literally.
Whew. Okay, that may have been the high point of the meeting, but we really do have some other very fine things tonight.
Yes, we do.
Follow that out. You gotta follow that.
All right, yeah, you do have to follow that.
Dive.
So our next item is the Northwestern University Partnership Report. I don't have a pen for you. But we'll see how well
But we
do,
won't make you
maybe.
walk around the
Yeah,
inside of the horseshoe either. So we have Kristen Perkins, and we have Alan Anderson, and we have Nicole Pickard, Dr. Nicole Pickard, Dr. Amy Pratt, all from illustrious, wonderful Northwestern University. But board, I think you're going to really appreciate hearing more about our partnership and the relationship that we have within you, and what these folks here have done to nurture and grow it into something that I think even those of us who were here at the very beginning could have only imagined that it might turn into something like this. So Kristen, are you taking over? Alan, okay.
Alan's going to start off.
So I'll
All right.
start off. Good evening, everybody. I'm Alan Anderson, Executive Director for Neighborhood and Community Relations at Northwestern. Also, Friday night hangout with Mark. You know. It is tough to I'm still processing a state championship. You know, I just can only imagine how hard it is and how much work it is to do that. So you guys should all be proud of the team. It's just a really impressive accomplishment. And so we'll do our best to try to share a little bit, keep that emotional high up. So myself and Kristen, we will do a brief presentation. Kristen will do the lion's share of the discussion today because she's here every day and she knows and does a lot of work. But with also Nicole and Amy, we're all here just to say thank you, first off. Thank you to the board. thank you to our superintendent, thank you to Dr. Campbell, Dr. Pete Bavis over here. It really means a lot to have you all here and listening to some of the work that we've been doing for the last 6 years. So the biggest thing that I just want to say is that the university, we came out a year ago, and you know, we were actually on a high last year because on that same night, our president had just received the key to the city, which was a pretty kind of like a moment where people were just like, wow, like relations have certainly improved from maybe what all of us could remember at various stages and stages of our lives. So, and we hope to just continue to build on that legacy and continue to strengthen the partnership. So, what we're going to do is just reaffirm our commitment from the university, and we'll talk about some of the leadership transitions that Kristen will go through, and then talk about the office priorities, and then just more specifically some of the progress that we've had. So I always show this slide just because, you know, we've had this partnership since 2012, so this is our 6th year. And I think even as we were starting it, you know, I wasn't here yet, Kristen was here, but I think there was just, you know, what does this really mean other than just an office with a purple wall? You know, is there really going to be thoughtful, collaborative work that ultimately strengthens both? And, you know, this particular slide just affirms from our president that deep commitment. You know, one of the things that all of you know is when he came into office or came into his role nearly 9 years ago, a little over 9 years ago, he was really trying to figure out how to best build a more collaborative and strong relationship with the community here in Evanston. Elizabeth Tisdall, then mayor, reached out to him, and he reciprocated immediately and really wanted to figure out a way to strengthen our relationship and partnership. So one of the things he really cares about is education. And so he wanted to create a partnership where we can strengthen our education here locally. And given the fact that we have an institution that's right down the road, how could we best serve and support our local education here at our high school? So we started the office, and it's really been a true partnership. I mean, we learn so much from being here. So it's not a one-sided thing where it's just like, you know, the university is just kind of coming in and just doing some stuff. It's an opportunity for us to learn, and we're really thrilled about that. And, you know, Kristen can probably tell you better than I can, but I'm guessing nearly 100 plus partnerships that we have across, you know, individual partnership items that we have between the university and ETHS, and it's really phenomenal. So I think it's important to talk about where we are today, and Kristen's going to kind of share some of the transitions we've had in leadership, which we think in some ways can even strengthen that even further. So with that, I'll kick it to Kristen.
That's right. Thank you, Alan. And thank you, everyone, for giving us the opportunity to be here. As Alan mentioned, we wanted to come before you to talk about our priorities, new areas of growth, but we thought it relevant to start out with these some Northwestern leadership transitions that have happened within the last year, that specifically these that affect the work and the partnership that we have. So on August 1st of 2017, we welcomed the new provost, Jonathan Holloway. He is also Chief Academic Officer at Northwestern. He comes to us from Yale, where he was the Dean of Yale College and the Edmund S. Morgan Professor of African American Studies, History, and American Studies. And then we also have David Figlio, who took over also August 1st as the Dean of the School of Education and Social Policy when Penelope Peterson retired. He had served previously as the director of the Institute for Policy Research at Northwestern. He has a long history of partnership and collaboration with the district and is committed to growing these now in his new role. One of Dean Figlio's first changes in CESP was to expand what was my home at the university, the Office of STEM Education Partnerships, to the new Office of Community Education Partnerships. And so with that, we have Dr. Amy Pratt, who is the Assistant Dean for Community Education Partnerships. And then we have new faculty member. She did a PhD program with us at Northwestern some years ago, and then went to DePaul and is back as our faculty director for the Office of Community Education Partnerships. So as we talk about these priorities, in the same way that our in the same way that CESP has expanded beyond STEM, sort of follows the pattern that we had when we first opened the Northwestern Partnership Office here 6 years ago. We had started with a focus on STEM, and we wanted to be sort of flexible and nimble in terms of our priorities. And so we spent a lot of time in those first 5 years listening, having conversations, and then really sort of following the lead of ETHS and District 202 to make sure that everything that we were doing in building this collaboration followed your lead and your goals. That was in building this partnership. Northwestern could collaborate and come to the table in any number of ways, but it was important to us that we made sure that we were following the needs and challenges and opportunities that were identified here. Some of those are strategic and high level, and oftentimes we leave room for those, though, that are organic and grassroots and ideas that come from students, ideas that come from parents, and that come from teachers. Within those, we think about 4 strategic priorities: increasing opportunity and support for people who are underrepresented in STEM fields. Priority number 2, developing vision, programs, and resources for STEAM. Priority number 3, expanding college access and career awareness. Then priority number 4, developing and celebrating identity, diversity, and social consciousness. As we go through each of these priorities, I'd like to highlight one key example from each that shows the depth in that shows growth in both depth and breadth as this collaboration has grown over time. So for our first priority, we see pictured here Dr. Evan Scott. He's a professor of biomedical engineering at McCormick School at Northwestern. He's discussing STEM Speakers for Students series. He's at an event at Northwestern that was held for ETHS parents and families that was developed in collaboration with EBAN. Throughout the life of the partnership, we've heard from ETHS health sciences and anatomy teachers that they were seeking opportunities to show students career pathways beyond what high school students knew. I could be a doctor, I could be a nurse if I was interested in healthcare. Likewise, we also heard from ETHS and engineering teachers that they were interested in having a diverse group of engineering professionals come in and talk with the students. So when I was approached by Dr. Evan Scott about an outreach program for the grant that he was developing, I was excited that we could connect these opportunities. He worked in conjunction with the partnership office as well as meeting with parents from EBAN to develop an outreach program. He was awarded a prestigious early career grant from the National Science Foundation, which funds 5 years of work. Half of that the funding from the career grant goes to research. Half of that funding goes to outreach efforts in the community. So through this program, we bring a series of guest speakers who are Black and African American STEM professionals from across the country to ETHS for STEM speaker series during the school day, as well as events held for parents and students in the evening together with Northwestern students, where they talk about supporting students' interest in STEM through high school, and then undergrad programs as well as graduate student programs. A lot of the conversations as well, Dr. Scott is passionate about helping students to understand the difference between an MD and a PhD and what that can mean for a career pathway. For priority number 2, bringing together arts and design into STEM. The photo that you see pictured here are ETHS students in the new STEAM Design Thinking and Innovation course. They're engaged in this moment, captured here in theater improv exercises, which are being used as methods for research and design. And, Northwestern adjunct lecturer and ETHS alum Byron Stewart is there leading this workshop. He leads a design consultancy in addition to being an adjunct lecturer at Northwestern. Under this priority, we've been building opportunities related to this goal that ETHS has about bringing arts and design into STEM. We've had ETHS teachers participate in professional development as well as co-facilitate professional development for teachers from around the country who come to Northwestern to do this work. Teachers and students here have also participated in a variety of industry challenges through the Illinois Science Technology Institute. Building up to this, we've had numerous events as well that have led to this launch of the Northwestern ETHS co-designed course, STEAM Design Thinking and Innovation. In order to launch this, we had a generous gift from an alum of both ETHS and Northwestern, Gordon Siegel, that partially funds, or that funds in part, a Northwestern fellow who acts as a teaching assistant and is helping to build this course for this first year. It's modeled after innovative programs at Northwestern, such as design thinking and communication, design thinking and doing, big data as art, and other ideas at the intersection. This course benefits Northwestern because as we use it in the School of Education, it's a model for other schools, it's a model for other programs. I just today literally got 2 emails asking about schools who want to talk about STEAM, want to know what we're doing, want to know what we're up to. We use this again as professional development model for other teachers. We always co-facilitate that work with ETHS teachers as well. For the third priority for college access and career awareness, and you see in this photo here ETHS Algebra and Entrepreneurship students with the Kellogg Black and African American Staff Network at the brand new Kellogg Global Hub. This was less than a month before it was open, and not even all of the staff was yet moved in. This is a new area of partnership and a benefit that we didn't even think about really when we first started this partnership. So Kellogg has the Black and African American Staff Network. We're starting to see staff affinity groups that are forming around campus. And K-Band had reached out to me through their Associate Dean Michelle Rogers. They have a lot of ETHS alum who are staff at Kellogg who are part of this new K-Band network. And like you see in best practices in corporate engagement with staff affinity networks is that they like to do community engagement and outreach because it fosters this sense of community among their members and adds value to their experience as professionals as they're able to share that. So they reached out to me, wanted to connect with ETHS. I told them about a number of, the Algebra and Entrepreneurship class, the upper level entrepreneurship experience. We run a Kellogg Connections mentorship program with Kellogg students, sort of laid out what are some options and brainstormed with them, and they really wanted to work with the Algebra and Entrepreneurship students. Because some of them, as students who are striving and sometimes struggling in school, a lot of them who were alum, I was speaking with, saw themselves in those students. And so they said, we want to bring them to Kellogg. We want to organize a college and career day. And so they put together an entire day for these algebra and entrepreneurship students and have stayed involved and in touch with the teachers as they move forward to continue to engage. They'd like to make this an annual event as well. Since then, they have connected me with other staff networks at Kellogg, and then also around the university, staff networks have reached out to want to know how could they engage with ETHS in a way that aligns with the priorities of the office as well as with the priorities that you all have. The fourth priority that we have is supporting the work of identity, diversity, and social consciousness that is so important and so key here at ETHS. You see here a photo of 4 of our young women who were at the first Women's Empowerment Conference that we held at Northwestern this past spring. It will become an annual event, and but in addition, we support each of the summits in the social consciousness series in unique ways. And how Northwestern is able to bring support and leverage support for each of these summits really depends on the asks and needs and challenges and opportunities that come from the summit organizing committee. For the Black Student Summits that just occurred, we had Northwestern faculty, staff, and students who participated as volunteers and facilitators at the summit. We're also pleased to announce that through Catalyst funding from Evanston's Martin Family Fund, as well as Northwestern's Daniel I. Linzer Grant for Innovation in Diversity and Equity, that we will have Northwestern and ETHS students co-designing and hosting the first Black Men Lead event in December of 2018. This event will bring together 50 young Black men from ETHS, as well as 50 young Black male undergraduate students from Northwestern for a 2-day conference. It will be co-designed by students and led by faculty from both institutions. For the Latinx Summit, ETHS Latinx leaders have been meeting every Saturday with Professor Alejandro Carrion and his students who are part of a youth participatory action research project. His students have been supporting the ETHS students in designing this year's summit as they did last year. The Asia Middle Eastern Student Summit, the I Am Summit, has support and collaboration again this year from Northwestern's Middle East and North African Studies Department. One key breakout session that's new this year will be led by Dr. Shayna Silverstein, entitled Resisting Syrian Oppression Through Sound and Movement. The LGBTQ+ Summit received support from Northwestern last year to bring in sponsor keynote Janet Mock. This year will include workshop sessions such as Invisible LGBTQ History with Weinberg's Associate Dean Lane Fenrich. And then Northwestern sponsored the first annual Women's Empowerment Conference last year with 120 ETHS students, as well as 40 Northwestern faculty, staff, undergraduate, and graduate women participating in that conference. With that conference, we sponsored and hosted that event, and so we were sure to, in the program evaluations, ask the Northwestern women who participated about their experience. The NU women who participated in the conference reported feeling more engaged and connected to the Evanston community, as well as feeling more empowered themselves. I think it's worth noting because as we talk about bringing in folks from Northwestern to support the diversity and equity of the social consciousness work that's being done here at ETHS, it's important to note that that benefit comes back on the Northwestern community as well. That our students report being more empowered, feeling more engaged, and feeling more connected. The connections go beyond the summits, bringing guest speakers, scholars, and artists to ETHS, as well as connecting ETHS to opportunities and events that go on at Northwestern. ETHS continues to be a leader and model district in your efforts to embrace diversity and equity in education, demonstrating best practices to the Northwestern community. Furthermore, as our Northwestern students engage in this work with the amazing young people at ETHS, our Northwestern student body feels an increased connection to the diverse Evanston community. Quite quickly, I'm going to run through because I want to have time for questions. We have used this slide before, but this is another one that we think is important to include every time. As we think about keys to success, what makes this partnership unique? What makes it work well? And what makes it work well for both ETHS and Northwestern? And these are the sort of 6 ingredients that we think are critical to the secret sauce. Setting priorities, that ideas can come all over, that they're a mix of being strategic and they can come organically as well as we try to bring them into the fold. But that the setting priorities and finding alignment are always driven by District 202, and that ultimately we are guests in your building and in your district, and we take that responsibility quite seriously. Leadership from both institutions communicate regularly and openly about the work. We're able to leverage expertise and trust and collaboration by making sure that we are bringing the right parties to the table at the right time for the right conversations. And sometimes that may mean, making sure that our students are ready to come to the table, making sure that our Northwestern faculty is ready to come to the table, making sure that we're bridging the gap. And then the last thing that's important to us all is reflection on the work and continuous improvement. The reporting happens internally at both organizations as well as externally to stakeholders and the broader community as we move forward. So that concludes our portion of the presentation that we had planned, and then we have time for questions, if you'd allow.
Thank you so much. That was great, and so many wonderful partnerships and great collaboration. It's just very exciting, and to think about how far this has come over the last few years, it's just amazing. I was just coming on the board when this was starting, and it's just going through the list and hearing what you're doing is pretty amazing. So,
thank you, Pat.
Does anybody have questions? Jonathan.
I had a comment and a question. My comment is I hope the day has come or is coming soon when you don't feel like you are guests in our house. You may view them yourself. We don't view you as guests. We view you as part of this family. So, so many exciting. I was intrigued by the NU instructors in AVID classes. Mm-hmm. That's, could somebody describe that one a little bit more?
Are you okay? So that's a program that we started the very first year of the partnership, so it's in its 6th year now. The focus, so this started with the AVID director. At the time she approached me, the focus for the seniors is turning them into successful college freshmen. And the AVID program was looking for a way to give the senior students a college experience. And so we partner with a program at Northwestern called the Searle Center for Teaching and Learning. It's a certificate program in order to help graduate students learn how to teach before they grow up and become professors and have to teach themselves. So in working together, we have now students from this certificate program. We aim for 4 every year who come here to ETHS and teach a college mini course to the AVID seniors. For the graduate students, they're getting the experience. These are seniors, they're not too far off from freshmen, and so they're getting this experience. They get to design the course, they write a syllabus, they write a course description, and they get to teach. For the high school seniors, they get the experience of what it's like to take that college course. They get to choose which course they want to take and things like that. The Northwestern instructors teach 3 days a week. The other 2 days a week, the AVID instructor acts as a sort of a TA. Part of this is sort of pulling back the curtain on a college course as well. What does a syllabus mean? How is that different in college course than it is in high school? So there's a little bit of that metacognition that's built in as well. The piece that we added this year, one of the things that we saw was that as we were bringing the Northwestern instructors in, they were having a hard time adjusting the high school students were having a hard time adjusting and seeing this as a real college experience because it was still very much in the high school context. So prior to beginning working with Tanisha Williams, working with Dr. Campbell, and Sabrina Emke and some of the other AVID teachers, we came up with the idea to bring all of the AVID seniors over to Northwestern for a day. They spent a morning over there. We had 9 different college courses, and so they actually got to choose, rank, and then go to a college course. They were in really small groups, and we had a facilitator there with them who we gave them the syllabus. They got to sit in on the class. We had a debrief session about what that was like, what were they seeing, sort of positive behaviors and things like that you should see. And then I've heard that the Northwestern AVID program is going, as it's rolling, I think they're about midway through, that it's on a better trajectory this year, which is good to hear.
I'm interested, since you said you've been doing this for 6 years now, have you been able to follow any of these students to see sort of potentially some of the impact of this in terms of them attending and succeeding in college?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have not, and we have not in our work.
Yeah, but I know that some of the like the AVID graduates and the AVID alum who've come back do talk about the opportunity to take some of those study skill strategies and use them in that course, and then you transfer them to their university courses, like the Cornell note-taking and the binder. For some reason, those are the 2 strategies that really stick with the AVID alum when they come back, and they say, well, handling all of that content, Cornell notes was a pretty useful strategy for them to learn in the AVID program that they had an opportunity to apply in this program as well as when they got to be freshmen in college.
One quick question. Marcus, is David an AVID? Was he an AVID student?
Yeah, David Verner was an AVID student.
Yeah, he was one of my students at DePaul. He graduated from DePaul, and now he works with us at Northwestern. And we'll be spending time in here working on our mobile van where he brings technology lessons to students.
Other questions? Mike?
Yeah, not so much a question, but, a comment. I'm sitting here thinking back. I remember before, Northwestern has been very involved with this district for many, many years, but just, what has it been, 7 or 8 years ago when we formalized it and really ramped it up to an entirely new level, it put a different focus on it. And I remember thinking at the time that, this only works and thrives if everybody wins. If Northwestern gets a benefit from this, as well as the obvious benefits to our students. It's quite obvious what we get out of this. But I'm really gratified to hear your opening remarks, Al and Christine, throughout your remarks, commenting on what Northwestern learns from this and seeing as one of the top priorities this idea of alignment, which means that, you know, this has got to be good for you. And I think that that is what makes it thrive. At the time, I remember there was some apprehension about, well, is Northwestern just going to want to come in and work with our very best and brightest and most advanced students? And that was not part of the original construct. And I can see, you know, year after year hearing these presentations that there's been a very high degree of fidelity in sticking to that original mission. And it goes right to the question Jonathan just asked and many other things that we saw here. And, you know, Al, you started by thanking us, and I think on behalf of all of us, thank you. Because this is working, I think, the way it should work, and I think everybody's learning and expanding where it's appropriate and getting the right feedback, and it's just, I'm kind of like, this is going well, don't mess with it. I'm just going to be quiet now, but thank you all.
So I have a question. First of all, I'm really impressed also by the breadth of activities that you have here, which allows access, right? It allows opportunity for all of our students to engage. So I have a really specific question, though. The Black Male Lead Conference you spoke of briefly, do you have an intended outcome, and why is that important? I mean, why is having this or hosting this or doing this important?
I am the faculty lead on that program. And so I think there's a couple of reasons why it's important. I think the design of it is not just coming in and saying, bring Northwestern students in here. And that research, and Kristen has done a lot of research, we see that some of the same issues that students here have, students at Northwestern have. And speaking of as a graduate student, Northwestern 20 years ago, we had no connection to Evanston. You know, none whatsoever. All time was spent in Chicago. So in that sense, I think trying to create a sense of community and connection between students. And also, I think the third part in there is also connecting Black men in the community. You know, at the end of the day, when you walk out of your school, you walk out of Northwestern. If you're a Black man, you're a Black man. So I think in that sense, we're trying to bring everyone together and also having them connect together first in a series of workshops to figure out what are the questions, what are the real issues, and for them to co-design what the event is. We're not, Alan and myself, are co-leads on that. We're not designing it. We're trying to bring together students to facilitate that, and also Marcus. So we're supposed to be getting together soon over dinner at my house, right, to do some more planning on this. So I'm really excited. It's my first activity here with the high school, so I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Thank you.
Jude.
Thank you so much for the work that you all are doing. It's phenomenal. Thanks again for having invited me to the orientation at the beginning of the year. And I was just so pleased to meet the incoming freshmen. And I just had a moment where I realized that these students want to engage further with the wider Evanston community. And this is providing just such a great vehicle for them to be able to do so. And I love the fact that you're keeping your goals manageable. There aren't that many components that you're looking to make an impact on right now at this moment, which I think probably further allows you all to be impactful. It's keeping it manageable. I love the fact that you all are focusing on diversity in STEM and STEAM. As it relates to alignment, my next question is, so it's providing exposure for Black and Latino students, for example. As it relates to admissions, have you tracked, or do you know if this has increased the number of Black and Latino students applying to Northwestern and gaining admissions?
So I'll say a few things, and I appreciate the question, because one of the complexities of when this partnership was developed, it was not intended to be like a pipeline generator, like, hey, we're just trying to, you know, as Mark even mentioned, like, hey, we're just trying to cream from the top and say we got some folks that go to Northwestern. And even saying that, I think what's happened as a result of having this much stronger partnership and much greater and deeper engagement, more students here see Northwestern as an option, right? And they are more excited about what it means to go to Northwestern. There's a stronger overall community relationship. And so I think people see it as an option. And as a result, there's been a dramatic number of increased applicants as well as admitted students. And so I can't tell you the diversity off the top of my head, but what I can say is that even when President Shapiro started, I think we had a total of 20 CPS and ETHS students combined, right? And so now there's like over 100 in CPS. I think 50 was admitted in the last class or something around there, 30 of which actually are now at Northwestern. Yeah, so I mean, something's happening, right? So people are starting to say this is a place that I want to go, and you know, again, I just think as you have more interactions and more discussions and more partnership and more of everything, it leads to, you know, a stronger interest, and then that ultimately leads to more students choosing it as an option. And I will say, just personally, I've had a lot of conversations with individual families that have reached out to me in terms of looking to go to Northwestern who ultimately did get admitted, who are, you know, minority populations. I can firsthand tell you that I've seen that happen. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys.
I'd like to say one more thing about that, because I think the college access and career piece is really important. And I think a lot of the programming that we do within that priority is designed to give all of the students here an opportunity to see a college campus, and to really think about the best fit for them and what that means. And we want kids, obviously we want kids to be interested in coming to Northwestern, but we want kids to be interested in going to college, period. And there are lots of opportunities for kids, and it's about that match fit. It really is. And so I think a lot of the things that Kristen does and that we do in partnership with the school is really working hard, and Marcus and I and Kristen and all of us, Pete, we talk about this all the time, is how do we make sure that we're giving the kids the exposure, the knowledge, and the tools to get that next best step for them. And that's really what we're trying to do. I mean, we love it, obviously, that they want to come to Northwestern and they see it more of an opportunity for them and a place that they might stay close to home. But there are a lot of great schools out there. And I think just giving them that connection to a university and that picture in, and they can see themselves there, and they have these near-peer experiences, I mean, that's really what we want to do. And that's what we really work hard to do with a lot of the programming that we do in partnership with the school. So,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to toss out that as a father of a Kit Kat, that I can say that there are 65 ETHS grads in the freshman class at Northwestern. 65.
Thank you.
Which would be 7% of our graduating class last year. And off the top of your head, how many tens of thousands of applicants does NU have for the small number that are accepted?
Well, I know there's only like a 9% acceptance rate, so just to give you that, you know, is to say that this is a very high representation of that body.
Yes, it
is a really strong.
The other thing I'll add, and we do have more students accepted than attend, because for some of them, they want to go a little farther away from home.
That's exactly right.
And that. So our acceptance rate at NU is very high, and our attendance rate at NU is very high, and that has grown, I don't think it's overstated, exponentially in the last few years. I think it's fair to say that.
Well, thank you. I really love the idea of all these resources and all you're doing for our students and for our school and Evanston as a whole. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of ETHS. Thank you.
We should give Kristen most of this love. This is the person who gets the love, so give Kristen a big thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So next on the agenda is the report on our Black Student Summit.
So we have a planning committee. Dr. Campbell, I think maybe you're going to moderate this, but there's Lauren Hamilton and Nicole Boyd and Nicole Parker, I thought I saw. Maybe I.
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
And Michael Edwards and Leah Jackson, and I think I got all of our team here, but you're going to hear some good stuff about this year's Black Summit.
Well, good evening. I'm always excited when we get an opportunity to come to you and talk about all of our social consciousness work. And tonight, I want to introduce this distinguished panel: Michael Edwards, who is a social worker here at ETHS, Lauren Hamilton, who is our equity analyst, Nicole Parker, our history social science chair, Nicole Boyd, who is our student activities director. And this is just a portion of the entire planning committee that worked with students to plan the Black Summits this year, and they have prepared a very stellar presentation for you tonight. And I am going to turn it over to Lauren Hamilton, who was actually hired to do a lot of this work with our social consciousness programming, and I'm going to turn it over to her. So thank you.
Thank you all for allowing us to be here tonight. This is really exciting work for me, especially, and all of us definitely. So just really briefly, I'm going to set up our agenda. So we'll go through the goals for the summit, the theme, how we arrived at it, the student involvement initiative, which was really key and new to this experience this year, planning the summit, collaborative efforts that we undertook with our community, ETHS staff and faculty, and students themselves, the run of the day, so what the students did throughout their day. We'll give you some feedback and some data about that experience and some takeaways. Then we'll show a quick highlight video that William Jenkins put together for us, and then we'll allow you all to ask us some questions.
So, there we go. I don't know if it's working. All right, so 3 of our major goals are right there. We wanted to give students the space to have these conversations, specifically about race and the impact that they have in the community, but also here at the high school and beyond. Give students an opportunity to connect with various community members. I'm seeing some faces in the room that were there, various staff members, Northwestern, community members from different organizations, and then empower students to be leaders in their community. And they were leaders from step 1 all the way to the day of, and Lauren will talk a little bit more about that.
Great. So the theme for this year's summit was Get Woke, Stay Woke. And just to take it back a little bit, what woke means is to be socially minded, critical, and just aware of the real-life implications of social and systemic injustices. So when we say stay woke, we are saying continue to engage with your surroundings, ask questions, and just be aware of what's going on. So the way that we arrived at the theme this year was back in November. We had a student focus group, and the purpose of that focus group was to ask students what they wanted to see at this year's summit, get some goals that they had in mind for this year's summit, and to brainstorm around different topics that they might want to talk about during their sessions, and also some theme ideas. And so we were able to tie this theme in really nicely with Black History Month's theme, which was Stay Woke this year. Great. All right, so student involvement was a huge thing for us this year. So like I said, we started with a focus group on November 10th, and we convened 75 students, freshman through senior class. I had 2 students help me co-facilitate that session, and we just got some of their voice around what they wanted to see this year. From that focus group, we put together a student planning committee, so about 30 students who would meet at least once to twice a month from November all the way up through the summit in February, where they worked really hard and diligently to actually create the foundation for the summit breakout sessions. So we took all of these ideas and really funneled them down to focused purpose statements, if you will, which we then delivered to ETHS staff and faculty, and they were the ones to put that together in a really nice curriculum plan. From the committee, I had about 12 students who I would meet with weekly to work on all of these goals that we had. And then this year, we were able to bring 25 students together from this committee to actually co-facilitate some of the sessions during the summit themselves.
So in addition to the students, the student involvement, we brought together a lot of different people. I mean, just this small team right here, we were meeting all day, every day. Lauren was meeting with students 2-3 times a week, trying to convince us to stay late with her and meet with them as well. We had over 100 community members served between volunteers for the day and also mainly facilitators in the room. So some of the volunteer roles, we only had a few. There were chaperones, so these were just adults in the room to kind of help troubleshoot any issues. Say a student becomes overwhelmed emotionally, needs to leave to go take care of something, they can kind of help facilitate that. Obviously, we had our facilitators who facilitated the sessions and the curriculum for each breakout. We had lunch service, because people got to eat, and they were there to just be part of that experience in the cafeteria, and then we had the morning check-in staff. So to get the students scanned in and processed, give them their materials for the day. Every student got a shirt, like we were wearing, in addition to their kind of agenda for the day. As far as the different community members we had City of Evanston. City of Evanston really stepped up big and sent us a lot of people. Chessman Club, Northwestern, the police and fire department, as well as the YMCA, YWCA, and YOU. And I don't think that's an all-exhaustive list. We also had Nicole and Lauren helped run E-band focus groups with that parent network. And it was November 14th. And so then we also had ETHS staff and faculty. And so I just want to thank all of our leadership and administrators in the room for making those people available. It was very smooth. Every staff member that wanted to participate was able to, so that was great.
So this is a overview of the day and the schedule for the day. It might be a tad difficult to see, but I just want to call your attention to the 4 different colors that represent 4 different tracks, and that's how we were able to organize such a large group of students over the course of 2 days. I do want to highlight that this year was a little bit different in that, well, I think it was a significant difference. I shouldn't minimize it. In that we had one event over 2 days, and we allowed students to register based on their last name. So a certain number of the students based on the last name alphabet came on Tuesday, and then the other group came on Thursday. So we removed the gender binary for this particular event. We had morning sessions that were facilitated by students, and we'll talk a little bit more about what those sessions were. And then we had core sessions, which included lunch, which you can kind of see there. That kind of goes along the diagonal when students were engaged in lunch and also the other activities. And then finally, we had, and then we had an intersectionality session, trying to bring together the different identities of the students. And then finally, we had a closing keynote. So what you see before you are the breakout sessions student choice. This year, we were fairly successful with getting students, not fairly, I'm sorry, why do I keep qualifying? It was much more successful getting students to pre-register. And in that process, they were able to identify what areas that they wanted to focus on. And so you can see those labeled here. And then these were the core sessions. So unlike the ones on the previous slide where students chose which ones they wanted to engage in, which topics they wanted to engage in, all students participated in these sessions over the course of the day according to a specific schedule. And again, that schedule was contingent upon when they had lunch.
All right. Great. So I just want to share with you some highlights from our day. We had so many great photos, but I had to settle for just 5. So up in the corner, we have a student who is taking full advantage of the dance floor that was open to them. So pretty unique to lunch this year. We created a dance floor for our students so they could just be together, listen to music that the committee put together, have some great food. We had nutrition services, and we worked with MacArthur's to provide a really great meal, and it was just amazing to see them be together and be really happy. Then we have Dr. Kamasi Hill, who is part of our social studies and history department, and he delivered our afternoon keynote at the closing assembly, so that was very powerful. Then we have some faculty members and staff who were really integral to facilitating our breakout sessions, so they're there and proud. In the corner, we have students participating in one of the intersectionality breakout sessions, and right there, they are doing a activity where they have to hold hands, and it's called Step Up. So that activity brings to mind all the different identities and ways that we move throughout the world. So that was really nice to see them all together. And then lastly, we have a photo of one of our students who was on the board co-facilitating with a faculty member. So I just wanted to highlight that to show how we really wanted to make sure that the students had some autonomy and some leadership in this year's summit.
And I'll have to just interject for quickly that our students were some of the most amazing facilitators that I have ever seen in my life. They were pretty great.
So with any program, we want to make sure that we take some time to stop after we've had a good time and evaluate and get some feedback. So first, we have some data for you indicating who attended the summit. We were discussing in preparation for this meeting and determined that this year's summit numbers were higher than last year. And so that's always a great thing to hear. We know that students are excited and wanting to be engaged on both of those days. Oops, double sheet.
Oh, sorry. All right, and then, so one of the key pieces of feedback that we heard from students and adults who volunteered for the day was just about the beauty in giving our youth the opportunity to really step up and make this day for them. So really our motto this year was to plan with the students, not just for them. So this is definitely something that we will continue in upcoming years. So we'll definitely expect to have more students on our committee next year. I'll be going to the Student Activities Fair in the fall, setting up a booth and just getting out early to try to recruit as many as possible. And that is a photo right there of our Student Planning Committee and board members.
So just some survey feedback. As you can see, no one had a poor overall experience at the summit, and the vast majority felt like it was a good experience. And so it's just a testament to all the work that went in ahead of time with all the various stakeholders. So just some anecdotal feedback we received. Just some more organizational improvements. So the Saturday prior to the summits, we had a volunteer training session, which Saturdays are just hard to make sometimes, and maybe just coming up with another date for those who weren't able to attend. It really makes a difference with the facilitators, just so everyone can be on the same page about the expectations and any potential obstacles that we might see. And then just on our side, making sure we have a better way or a way to improve, just making sure students get to where they need to go. Since, you know, we had the school in different locations, it was just we had to make sure that people got to where they need to go efficiently and effectively. As far as some more student feedback, so there was a lot of content. The curriculums were pretty heavy, and I think they wanted more time to talk and not, be led through the sessions so formally. And so we were ambitious with the amount of sessions that we had, and we might cut that down and just give that space, especially when students are able to plan it. I think the impact is greater, and they really want to get down into the depth of the conversation.
Great. So when we do events like these for students, we always need to take some time to just reflect and really think about what we learned. And so some key things that we observed and experienced this year was that students feel empowered when we give them the opportunity to collaborate and trust them to know what they want. So it's been really great to walk through the halls and see some of the students who are on the committee, and they're so happy and they're so proud of themselves. So that was just an amazing thing to see and continue to see. They really do enjoy spending time together, and just the feedback that we got saying, you know what, we can trim down the content, we just want to talk some more with each other, it was really special to hear. And so they are definitely interested in continuing this work throughout the year. And then lastly, we had, oh, I already went over that, trimming the content, sorry. Okay, so now we'll get to the fun part and we'll do our highlight video.
You are here today not because something is wrong, not because you are inferior, not because of some disparities we see in academic achievement. It's a day that we can celebrate who we are, where we come from, and that we are not to be solely defined by how society attempts to define us.
To me, it means being alert and actively aware of the people and situations around you and the way power and inequality are operating in a room. It means paying attention to who is being centered, who is taking up space, and who is being silenced or sidelined. It means making yourself an active student of history and culture, learning about the experiences of people whose lives are different from your own. It means learning when to be quiet and listen, and when to speak up and advocate for people who really need your voice.
See, you may be woke when you're talking about racial issues, but are you woke when you're talking about gender? Are you woke when you're talking about sexuality? Are you woke when you are talking about your own blackness? That's what you need to think about.
My mother said to me, remember who you are. You come from a powerful people. When the work gets too tough, when the frustration builds in, when your emotions get the best of you, remember who you are.
It was about when life knocked you down, you get back up and you attack the very thing that just knocked you down, and you go forward, you go heavy on it. I want you to understand what you possess and who you are, and never allow life to take that away from you. Through opposition, through adversity, and through challenges. In everything you do, understand who you are, but most importantly, never forget you are the survivors of those that chose to survive. People don't burn out because of what they do. They burn out because life makes them forget why they do it.
I think the Black Summit is important to have because it allows Black people to come together and discuss issues and topics that affects us all that we can't talk about in our regular classrooms.
I think it's important for Black men because Black men don't really like to talk about this type of stuff. It's usually Black females, and they speak, but I feel like it pulls them out their comfort zone and makes them want to speak, want to participate.
My favorite part was seeing all my Black students show their talents off in the auditorium and hearing from Inky Johnson.
It reached out to a lot of people. It really opened a lot of eyes for our Black community, and it really brought us all together as one to learn about things.
I believe it was important to hear from other mentors that were there because they have different perspectives than the students here at ETHS, and they may have other knowledge that students here don't.
I think it's a wide range of topics. Also, a lot of the sessions were large amounts of people because we do have a lot of attendance, and that gives the space and time for us to talk about these issues and get to a deeper understanding of what these topics mean, and it just brings space and area for good education to happen.
We'll take your questions.
So I'm sorry. No. See,
Hey guys, welcome back to Tag's Metal Reviews, and today, the big boys of
Next.
Right. Awesome. So I get excited about this every year, and really because of all the planning and the effort and the intentionality that goes into it, and just watching our students feel and be themselves. And Marcus, what you said in the beginning just hit me, that they're not there because they're in trouble. They're not there because, you know, they're in isolation. They're there to really focus and celebrate and gain knowledge. And so I get excited. So I missed the first day. I was there the second day. So I'm texting my son and telling him who's presenting, Inky Johnson, who he watches the video over and over, his video over and over again for inspiration. And his comment to me was, "Mom, it gets better every year." And so just to share that, and you know, I know some of the students that were part of the planning committee, and just including them was so key and critical, in hearing their voices. So you did a lot there. You stepped out of planning it for them and allowing them to help be a part of the process and plan this for themselves. So congratulations again.
Other comments? Pat?
This was amazing. I loved reading the report, and then this was even just put more icing on what looks like a fabulous event. And I think what really struck me, even before you talked about in the presentation about the student voice, is I could see how much you worked to make sure that those voices got heard and were actually leading. And I think as adults, that's not always the easiest thing to do. And so I really applaud all of you for having the courage and of your convictions to stop, which I'm sure you had to do sometimes, and let the kids lead. Because just reading the comments and some of the feedback really speaks to how deeply these kids understood what they were doing, what they got from it, and that leadership piece. And so, again, I just really applaud you, because I do think listening to our students on so many things is critical. And for you to do that as adult leaders, and to have that power in yourself to let the kids lead is really exceptional. So thank you, because it clearly paid off.
Jude.
I want to commend all of you for doing such an exceptional job, for giving a voice to some and many students who oftentimes do not have a voice, and we see it manifest in behaviors or lack of academic achievement. This was my first year attending the summit, and thank you again for allowing us to join you all. I attended along with, I brought, 13 students from North Lawndale, and they were inspired. They were inspired. It was truly an inspiration to them. They went back. Well, first of all, they all want to transfer. But I think even more so, the students, it was student-led, and they were inspired to see that they could do something like this. So they went back to the school and started talking to leadership about, we want a Black Summit. We want a Black Summit. And I thought that that was so powerful, for them to be inspired by those who could be their peers if they attended ETHS. And it really added some fuel to their fire. I do have a question. Has there, I know we got rid of the gender binary. Has there been any thought about having gender-specific breakout sessions to address some of the issues that are gender-specific?
Yeah, I can take that. So what we did do was our morning sessions were affinity-based, more or less. So it was tricky because we were going back and forth about whether to say only register for Between You and Me if you identify as a girl or a woman. So what we did is we created curriculum that is applicable to anyone, but might center a certain identity more specifically. So when we originally approached the students with the idea of no longer having the gender segregated summit, they were really open to it, and we're excited to have conversation with each other. And so moving forward, having sessions that are more focused on certain affinity and identity is something that we can definitely play with. But all in all, we had really good feedback about the opportunity for them to just talk to each other.
And the counter to the between you and me was the toxic masculinity session that we offered. So, yeah.
Mike.
Okay, so white guy, right? So this is, one of the speakers said something about one of the elements of being woke is knowing when to stay silent. And this may be one of those times, but I have a couple of questions anyway. Don't ask me any questions back because I don't know what I'm talking about and I can't sustain a follow-up question in all likelihood. But I just got to thinking, kind of your comment about it, Z saying it's getting better and better every year. And knowing, seeing all this happen over the last, what is it, this is the third one, right? Or fourth one. So over these last 4 years, watching this get better and better, it just made me wonder, where can we go with this, right? Where does this go? And where's, at some point, you just can't keep getting that much better, except if you make some changes. And I had an idea when you were talking about the students wanting to get deeper with their conversations, and then I started thinking about high school students. And you can have meaningful conversations with seniors that you can't have with freshmen. Freshmen need different things than seniors, so I'm wondering if there's any thought toward maybe in some of these affinity groups separating them by age so that you can then develop curriculums that people don't see the same thing each year. Right now we've got kids that this is their fourth one, seniors that have been to 4. So, and rather than having to change the whole program, maybe you can really deepen and focus on curriculum, a freshman curriculum, a sophomore, and kind of take them through a track over 4 years. Does that make any sense? I mean, it's just sort of an idea.
It's something that we could definitely consider and explore when we talk about the developmental appropriateness of some of the conversations and how deep they go. I know one of the things that we have been discussing is how do we sustain these conversations over the course of the year and the summer instead of just creating this day or two of conversation. I think that looking forward, how do we continue and sustain a conversation with the Evanston Police Department, with our black students here at ETHS over the course of several conversations, and creating some structures in place for where the summit, summit means high point, but where the summit climaxes and highlights a particular theme, but it's something that we're talking about constantly for throughout the entire school year. And so that's something that we have been discussing, and we always have great lists with volunteers and so forth and so on, but we're looking at how do we expand the discussion and expand that for the course of the year. But we can definitely consider also what you're talking about too, Mark, and some of the developmental things that happen with freshmen and seniors here at the school too.
Well, however it develops, I have complete confidence in this team, in the work you're doing. It's tremendous, it's inspiring. And as an aside, I'm once again reminded how lucky we are to have William Jenkins be able to bring this to life, to capture the spirit of it so well. So thank you. But yeah, it's just, this is powerful stuff. It's going to change lives. And keep it up. Thank you.
So I want to close by just saying how impressed I am. Again, I remember when this was starting and Marcus said, I'm bringing you something big. And I thought it was big that year. And 4 years later, it's just really, it just blows me away. I was able to get here for part of the second day and hear Inky Johnson speak. And I could just feel the energy of the day. It was just captivating and just so sustaining. I hope the students can, and I know it's complicated because we have things to do at high school, but this is so important, and we often talk about giving students of color, giving our African American students the language, the opportunities, so that they can speak and understand and be heard. So, so you're doing so much for them. You're teaching them so much. It's just, it's impressive. I know that when we started, we had the Black Male Summit in the fall, and so now this seems to be, is this correct, a better time because it gives more time to plan? I remember those summer meetings, trying to pull folks together in the summer, right? It's hard to do. So now we've got like we've gotten that right. We've fixed that, so we can plan, we take the time to plan, and we now have figured out how to really capitalize on student voices. And you're right, allowing students to lead just gives them more opportunities. So just so many things that worked. So congratulations. You should be really proud. You and all of the students at ETHS should be very proud. I am so pleased.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Awesome. All right. So next on our agenda is our international travel for 2018-19.
And Robbie Brown.
Robbie Brown.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to come back before the board again to introduce the international trips for the 18-19 school year. Not only speaking on behalf of my office and of me this evening, but I'm also speaking on behalf of the department chairs and the teachers and the staff that are hosting these proposed trips. So I did prepare a memo that was included in your packet with all the information for the proposed trips for 2018, 2019. Just a couple of things that I wanted to point out to you in my brief presentation this evening. First of all, you see two global visionary trips, one for summer 2018, one for summer 2019 in your packet this evening. We've always kind of been a year behind in proposing that trip, so this was our catch-up year, so we have one for both 2018 and 2019. We continue to shift and ensure as much as we possibly can that trips do happen during school breaks or in the summer and incorporate the natural school breaks into the trips to minimize the days of instruction lost during the school year to our students that participate. And finally, I just want to continue to respond and point out some of the feedback that I've gotten from the Board of Education over the past several years as I do this presentation of some things that were included in the memo. One of which is the survey now that we've done for the second year in a row about why some students choose not to attend the trips that we propose each year. That this is the second year of providing that info to you in the memo, and you can see it there. Something to point out about that, if you're looking and adding up the percentages, you'll notice that they sometimes add up to more than 100 because when the survey was given, the students were able to choose more than one option. So that's why the percentages don't always add up to exactly 100%. And something that was feedback last year that I've included in the memo this year is I've asked all the staff members that are proposing a trip for information on how they plan to fundraise and help students that need help that qualify and wish to go on the trip pay for the international trip. So that's also included. You know, I do plan to once again this spring to work with our Office of Research, Evaluation and Assessment to once again survey students that had an option to go on the 17-18 trips to find out why, if they chose not to go, why that was. So I'll be repeating that again for next year's report. And then I do just want to end with one more statement about the financial cost of going on these trips. I know it's a concern not only for the board, but it's a concern for all of us as well. And when I say all of us, that is the department chairs and the staff that are sponsoring this. And the message that I know that everyone gives to students is don't let cost be the determining factor when you are deciding whether you want to participate in the trip or not, that we are committed to helping you fundraise and helping you get scholarships and those types of things to go on the trip if you choose to go and you also qualify to go. So please know that that is a big concern of everyone that is planning these trips. And finally, I just want to thank you for your time. I know this is an introduction agenda item this evening, and I'm here to answer any questions for you this evening on the memo to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the memo. Thank you for the information. The memo is very good and pretty thorough. Thank you. Questions? Mark?
Now, on some of these trips, there's several of them in there where the response, kids didn't go, didn't know about the trip, is in the 30 to 35% range on several of the ones with bigger response numbers, you know, where it's more of a valid statistic. And, you know, it seems to me that if that's true, which, you know, I guess we take them at their word, then there's some work to do in terms of making sure that that information is out to everybody. The other thing I'd like to see, because, and you're right, I mean, I'm not trying to beat this up. I mean, I'm in generally supportive of this, but there's this big worry about equity, about who gets to go and who doesn't go. It would really, I think, I would like to see in the future if we could add metrics showing who went, broken down by free and reduced lunch, I guess is the way we can track income, right? So who went, who's on free and reduced lunch, and who didn't go, who's on that, and then by maybe by race, you know, the usual race categories that we track anyway, who went and who didn't go, so that we can see, is there a disparity there?
Okay.
I think that would be helpful to see that and would help us to understand how equitable is this in reality. I mean, that's just a suggestion. I don't want to make assignments here, Dr. Witherspoon, for your staff, but it's just a suggestion, you know.
Yeah, I think we could maybe add that to the survey and get a little more information. I think that would be helpful. Jonathan?
Yeah, I'd like to expand on Mark's point about equity, and I appreciate the responsiveness of doing the surveys and promoting the scholarships. And I know I've been beating this dead horse for, 7 years I've been on the board, but this really is, particularly when it comes to finance, an equity issue. And frankly, it isn't simply a question of just families on free and reduced lunch. There are a lot of middle-class families attending this school for whom, you know, several $1,000s for a trip is you know,
yeah, you're
daunting,
right. I suggest that only because I think that's how we can track it. Maybe that's the best we can do, but I agree. You know,
and I'm concerned because the survey responses, I mean, I'm happy that we're doing the surveys, but the survey responses showed that there was one trip where 27% said financial reasons were the reason they didn't do it, and another 31% said financial reasons were the. Now, if this were equitable, those percentages should be zero. Zero students should be not going on these trips because they can't afford it. So as Mark said, we got a ways to go.
I would not disagree. I do agree with you on that. And like I said previously, our staff does really talk about with all the students and say, don't let cost be the factor. But what I think may happen is some students don't feel comfortable coming forward and saying they need the help. And then when they're posed with this anonymous survey, then that message comes across.
Pat? So
in sort of the same genre, I think, what I found, there was a lot of variability in the survey, and I really appreciate that you are doing this because I think it's important to get that feedback. But I wonder what the outreach plans are. And I'm not expecting you to answer this because there are lots of different trips with lots of different people coordinating. But that might be something also to look at because, you know, for example, it could be an income thing. It could be I don't want to leave my family and go on an airplane. I've never done that before. You know, there could be a lot of different reasons, and I think sort of mapping the outreach plan and how this is messaged to the kids and to their families could be another way to unpack this a little bit more so that we can truly make this accessible to everybody.
Sure.
So yeah, certainly finances is a big one, but there's probably a lot of other things, and I wonder how we're messaging and reaching out in order to help kids and their families break that down.
I do know that there are, when the trips are first introduced in class, and then there are parent or guardian informational nights for those that might be interested with information about the trip, which includes cost and scholarships and all those things as well. So those types of things do happen for messaging.
Monique?
Yeah, so just my short comment. I agree. I think it would be interesting in knowing the students that are going, so what that looks like racially. But I also know that, and I don't want to generalize, but I know that there are pockets in our community that don't feel comfortable going out of the country, right?
Sure.
So it's more to it than, a financial reason. That's easy. I can easily say that that's an issue, and as a youngster, if I'm not that well informed, or if I don't feel comfortable sharing that, the real reason why I can't go, that is a quick reason to check off. So
Sure.
There's a lot that goes into maybe just creating a plan that allows accessibility and informing, making our parents feel comfortable that they're sending their children away,
Yeah.
that they're allowing them to go, out of the country, and what that means. So I believe, as long as I've been on this board, I know that you have discussed efforts and what you're trying to do to make it more accessible to a lot of our students. And sometimes it's just very difficult. It is just very hard to do that because it's not something that's that familiar in certain families or communities. And so I think with that, then of course you have to go deeper, and you have to be more innovative, and you have to keep knocking, and you have to, see small changes as success. Especially with this. I have a challenge convincing certain community members to allow their kids to go to Camp Echo, and that's in Michigan. So, I would have a very difficult time allowing my son to go out of the country for many reasons. So I know that those are efforts that you're trying to do too, and
Sure.
It just takes time to get that done. But would like to know and see how we're moving, that line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board, I will remind you, though, of one thing. While we can certainly look at ways to maybe look at the differences in students who may go, by definition, these trips will only accommodate maybe 15 to 25 kids. I've gone on one of these trips before. I took a group to Spain. You don't want 100 kids. You don't want to try to get 100 kids through an airport and onto a whole bunch of different buses and checking in, finding a hotel or an accommodation that's going to take 100 different kids, plus all of their chaperones that have to be along with them or everything. So by definition, these are always going to be small groups of students. And if we want to keep doing it, we have to understand that. And I wouldn't wish it on any teacher on the planet Earth to try to take 100 kids out of the country and all the chaperones that would be necessary for that, and try to be responsible for all those people. So I just want you to be aware, we can talk about who goes and how accessible it is, but these will always, by definition, be only accommodating a smaller group of kids if we want to continue doing them.
So how do we accommodate a small group and allow it to be more?
Yeah, right.
And I'm wondering, and I appreciate that, Dr. Witherspoon. I'm wondering if one, and you may be doing this already, one way to inform students of this opportunity is by having students who went on the trip come back and talk about their experience to their peers. Do you do that?
Yeah, I do
Yes.
know that the students that have, we don't have graduates come back to do that,
Yeah,
but
right,
students that
right.
had participated in the trips years previously are used as a marketing tool, I
Yeah,
guess, or
that's-
and I think they sell themselves, and the students are happy to do that, to
Right.
talk about their experiences on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, there's some value when you take a really exciting trip, Mr. Metz. There's some real value in sharing that experience, because some of us who wouldn't think of going there might consider it after seeing some slides and hearing a few stories. So that would be one way to kind of hook students. And so that's just a possibility.
And I just wanted to add that the fact that these are small numbers of students who can do this makes it all the more important that they not be selected on the basis of, that a small group of students get this valuable additional educational experience because they can afford it and other students can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, which might
Yeah,
mean.
and we get the small part, 'cause it,
Yeah.
when you take 100, it's a totally different experience than going in a small group.
Yes, yes. It just might mean being very intentional about saving spots for students that might not get to go.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I just want to add that I remember us having this conversation last year about money. So I took note that every kid who has asked for money since last year, 100% has gotten funds from ETHS to attend these trips. All of them. Anyone who put in an application to go, we gave them money to go.
That's awesome. Thank you. It's good to hear. Thank you. All right.
Making progress, good.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you once again for the opportunity to come speak on behalf of our department chairs and our staff that are sponsoring these trips. I appreciate all
always
of
a
your
tough
feedback.
assignment, Robbie.
I'm sorry?
It's always a tough assignment to come and talk about this with us.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm
I
sorry.
said it's always a tough assignment for you to have to come and talk
Oh,
about this topic
That's
with us.
okay. I enjoy the feedback, I appreciate the feedback, and I do appreciate the opportunity to come provide you with some responses to the questions that you have. They might be a year later, but you get to see answers to some of your questions.
And I just want to say once again, I love the goal, the first goal, equitable and excellent education. I love that's here, that you're thinking of this, and kudos to all the department chairs and leaders who are thinking this is our approach. This is what we do.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we are at comments from the public. Dr. Bavis?
We do have one comment from the public, Mahesh Manwalkar. And as he makes his way up, I just want to review the protocol. Oh, right here, you can do it right from there, and just hit the button. It's a 3-minute timeline. I get to keep time. I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Okay.
And then when the buzzer goes off, I'll fumble with the phone and you'll finish your thought. Okay?
Well, that's accurate. Thank you. Am I on? I'm on. Well, thank you. I really want to, appreciate the work that you do. In fact, I came in here with an agenda, not an agenda, a point that I would be making within 3 minutes. But then I saw you guys speak and talk about different things, and I'm a parent. I'm a parent of a sophomore and a junior at ETHS. I've been very involved in the school. Different activities, in fact, even taken kids to McCormick Place where I work and, shown them construction and, different kinds of things that I get involved in, ambassador programs and that kind of things. First of all, I wish Christine was here, Perkins. In fact, my son was a beneficiary of this partnership from Northwestern, and he really enjoyed it. Like, I think there was one comment about students like to wish to go further from home, but I was amazed when my son actually came up to me and said, Baba, I want to be at Northwestern. So, that's an amazing feedback. The real reason for me to be here, though, is I'm concerned. And the reason I'm concerned is because We have Parents Engaged. That's a group of parents who kind of, we have an email chain that we kind of talk about issues at school. And one of the topics that came up in my observation is this rampant use of drugs. And this is happening at ETHS. And that really concerns me. It really concerns the parents who we have been talking to. And one of the thoughts that came out of this discussion was, there is a board meeting, and I think you should make this as a point, that folks like yourself who are concerned about the school would take some action. I think there are few perspectives here. It's not just the drug itself, it's the accessibility of the drugs, how easily students can get that. Second would be monitoring if actually there has been drug use on the campus and what the security measures are that you have in place. And also the fact, the awareness in students that, am I 3 minutes up?
You have a minute.
1 minute, yeah. I think it's also the awareness that students need to be given in terms of drug use. Even simple fact that if a student is an athlete, the fact that, you know, having drug usage can actually hamper his future in athletics. I really need to know from the board, and you might not be prepared for it, but I really need to know what action can the school and the board take on the rampant use of drug at ETHS. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no further public comment this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so we are at item number 10, FOIA. We have some FOIAs that are in our packet.
Yes, we have 3 FOIAs, Tyrell, Buckwalter, and Beal. We also have, we've responded to the Public Access Counselor of the Illinois Attorney General. There have been 3 requests, 2 from Mr. Zoller and 1 from Mr. Meadows of the patch. Our attorney has informed us that responses from the PAC can take anywhere from several months to 2 to 3 years given the backlog. We will update the board if we get any additional public access counselor requests for information. And we'll also, once these are adjudicated or, you know, figured out by the by PAC, we will share the FOIA responses, the final responses.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. So item number 11 is board committee reports. I don't think we have any reports, do we? Okay, no. Okay, item number 12, student board report.
Hello, everyone. So just to reiterate some of the points made by the report on the Black Student Summit, I, along with participants in the summit, thought it was important to provide some more specific feedback on the event. Senior Jadlyn Rogers and Snobia Aiden noted how the co-ed event made all students feel comfortable and welcome, whether they identify as male, female, or gender nonconforming. Students also appreciated the food service's attention to preparing a culturally relevant lunch. Students stressed their happiness over the lack of kale this year. And senior Onyx York remarked that the summit was a breath of fresh air and noted how important it was to foster spaces in which Black youth are able to celebrate their similarities and differences with their peers. As a whole, students emphasized how much they love the summit. Students found the event to be successful and appreciated this year's dedication to student voice in the student planning committee. On a different note, in light of the Me Too and Time's Up movements around sexual misconduct, several ETHS students, including junior AJ Cabrera, wanted to shine a light on some of the instances of sexual harassment or assault within the school. These cases of misconduct, whether they be groping in the hallway, unsafe encounters with ex-romantic partners, or other forms of sexual violence, are not anomalies. Students depend on the ETHS administration to handle each case thoughtfully. Some students have found that ETHS staff have allowed their attackers to return to school without their knowledge, and which results in a distressing school environment and potential future interactions. Students urge the ETHS administration to handle each case of sexual misconduct in a timely, thoughtful, and serious manner in order to uphold a safe school environment for all students. On an even different note, high schools across the country will be walking out of class on March 14th at 10 a.m. to honor the victims of gun violence, specifically the victims of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. ETHS students have the choice of walking to Lazier Field on this date for a moment of silence to honor Yaquez Seamark, DJ Coleman, and countless other lives. The event will be hosted by Student Senate, and as president of Student Senate, I'm happy to answer any and all questions. That's all I have, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. All right, we are at the superintendent's report. Dr. Witherspoon.
Great. Okay, absolutely. Thank you, Emma. Just a series of reminders. We have several upcoming events that I want to highlight. One is we have partnered with the City of Evanston and a number of organizations here in the community to host a career options night. That's going to be this Thursday night, March 1st at 6:30 p.m. And this event is designed for students who are interested in professional careers that do not require a college degree. It's open to the community, all the students and their parents in the school. No RSVP is required. We're expecting a big turnout, and I've had a little bit of a preview of all of the kind of career clusters that are going to be represented, and I think folks will be very, very pleased at all these terrific resources. Our ETHS dance company is going to perform this week. That'll be March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the auditorium. The Thursday show is at 4 p.m. and the Friday and Saturday shows are at 7 p.m. Tickets will be available at the door. Again, that's our ETHS dance company. The dance team was recently recognized by the Illinois High School Dance Festival, and you might want to look at our webpage to learn a little bit more about the great accolades that they received. Also, our chess and math teams and speech and debate teams and visual arts students have also been garnering a lot of recognition and awards. So again, I think you probably see we put out communications about all of these on a regular basis, but maybe taking another look on our website would be a good reminder of that. The Winter Music Fest is going to be held a week from Thursday on March 8th. That'll be at 7 p.m. This is annual Winter Music Fest is a free concert, and this features performances by the band, the choir, and the orchestra students. And I'm sure most of you have attended one or more of these over the years, but to anybody listening in, this is a must attend. I just can't begin to tell you. Thursday, March 8th, 7 p.m. Don't miss it. It's the best show in town, and free doesn't hurt either. And then the freshman-sophomore formal, which was moved from the fall to now coming up Saturday, March 10th. It'll be at 7 p.m. in Beardsley Gym. And to all of our freshmen and sophomores, we encourage you to attend this. It's really always a really, really nice event, and our students really do appreciate it. Tomorrow, Emma has the day off. Tomorrow, only our sophomores, only the class of 2020 will be coming to school to take the PSAT 10 exam. And the rest of the student body for that assessment day has the day off. As a reminder to our seniors that the ETHS scholarship applications are now open. I've been reminding folks of that. We're announcing it about every day, but there are literally thousands upon thousands of dollars available to be awarded to our college-bound seniors, and we really encourage them to take a look and apply for one or more of those scholarships. And finally, registration for our ETHS Summer School is continuing. I mentioned last time that it was opening, and encourage folks to visit the website and get signed up. I know it's only February. Get signed up for summer school, and that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you. All right, so we are at items for action. So the first item is approval of resolution approving emergency expenditure of funds for main kitchen water heater system.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. The second item is approval of casework and fume hood for the Chem Phys Lab.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. The next item is approval of construction renovations for 1233 to 35 Hartree, which is the special education day school.
Move approval?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes. The next item is approval of pool roof window replacements and tuck pointing.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The next item is the consent agenda, which consists of approval of minutes for February 12th, 2018, the closed session minutes, approval of February 12th, 2018 regular meeting minutes, the Treasury report from December of 2017, approval of bills, personnel agenda, change in status, which includes stipends, resignation, which includes certified, exempt, and nutrition services, release of support staff.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that's our action item. So we're at old and new business. Does anybody have old or new business to present tonight? Hearing none, we'll skip the closing of the board. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor? Is that right?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, just kidding. All right. We are adjourned.